Preppers community, are you ready? Today I have news that could completely change your plans. There are 6 states in the US where living off-grid is practically impossible, and if you live in one of them, you'd better act fast. We're talking about places where the dream of self-sufficiency clashes head-on with regulations, red tape, and maybe even a little bit of something that looks like control, man. It's enough to make you wonder, are they trying to herd us like cattle? Let's uncover the obstacles in these states and see what's really going on. Coming in at number 6 on our list of states where going off-grid is like trying to fight a silverback gorilla with a pool noodle, Hawaii. Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy, right? Crystal clear waters, lush jungles, pineapples growing out of every orifice. You'd think it'd be a prepper's paradise. But hold on to your coconut, because the reality is way harsher than a volcanic eruption. See, Hawaii's got these zoning and building regulations that are tighter than a surfer's wetsuit. It's like they took all the aloha spirit and channeled it into bureaucratic paperwork. You want to put up a wind turbine? Forget about it. Solar panels? Good luck getting them past the HOA. And don't even get me started on collecting rainwater. They act like you're trying to steal from the gods or something. I've heard stories of folks, real salt-of-the-earth types, who tried to work around the system, built their own little off-grid haven in the jungle, totally self-sufficient, living the dream. Then bam! The authorities swoop in like mosquitoes at a luau, slap you with fines that'll make your head spin and shut your whole operation down. It's almost like they don't want you to be independent in Hawaii. Makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Is it about control, money, maybe a little of both? Whatever it is, it's enough to make you want to trade your surfboard for a plane ticket out of this regulatory nightmare. Next up at number 5 is California, the land of Hollywood stars, Silicon Valley billionaires, and some of the most restrictive off-grid living laws in the country. You'd think in a state that's practically on fire half the year, they'd be a little more open to people finding alternative ways to live. But nope, California's all about that green energy, as long as it's on their terms and you're paying a premium for it. First off, let's talk about the cost of living in California. It's outrageous. You're talking astronomical prices for land, even in the middle of nowhere. And don't even get me started on the taxes. They'll tax you for breathing if they could figure out how to install meters on your nostrils. Then there's the infrastructure. California's power grid is about as reliable as a used car salesman, and their water situation is a whole other disaster. But hey, try and solve those problems yourself by going off-grid, and they'll hit you with so many permits and regulations you'll think you're trying to build a spaceship. And let's not forget about the wildfires, man. Those things are no joke. You spend years building your off-grid oasis, only to have it go up in smoke because some idiot flicked a cigarette out their car window. It's enough to make you want to pack up your bags and head for the hills. Oh wait, you can't do that in California either. They've got rules against that too. Alright, rolling in at number 4 is a state that might surprise you. New York. Now I know what you're thinking. New York? Who in their right mind would try to live off-grid in the concrete jungle? And you're right, most people wouldn't. But believe it or not, there are folks out there, even in the Empire State, who dream of escaping the rat race and becoming self-sufficient. The problem is, New York's got other plans for them. Between the sky-high cost of living, the insane property taxes, and building codes stricter than a drill sergeant, going off-grid in New York is like trying to swim in a pool of quicksand. Even if you manage to find a patch of land that isn't covered in skyscrapers or pizza joints, good luck getting permission to do anything with it. You want to build a cabin? Forget it. Install a well? Dream on. Put up a few solar panels? The paperwork alone will give you a hernia. See, New York City might be known for its anything-goes attitude, but when it comes to living off the grid, they're all about that everything's got to be approved by us mentality. I've heard stories about folks who tried to skirt the system, set up hidden homesteads in the Adirondacks, only to have the authorities come knocking with fines and eviction notices. It's like they've got a sixth sense for self-sufficiency, and they don't like it one bit. Chapter 4, New Jersey, where even the dreams are toxic. Coming in hot at number 3 is New Jersey. Yeah, you heard me right, Jersey. The land of Springsteen, Snooki, and enough regulations to make your head spin faster than a tilt-a-whirl at the Jersey Shore. Now, I've spent some time in Jersey, and I gotta say it's got its charms. The food's good, the people are, well, they're passionate, let's just say that. But if your passion is off-grid living, you might want to pack your bags and head for friendlier territory. Because in New Jersey, going off-grid is about as easy as finding a parking spot at the mall on Christmas Eve. It's not just one thing, it's like they took all the worst aspects of other states' off-grid laws and mashed them together into one big, fat, bureaucratic nightmare. First, you've got the zoning laws. They're so convoluted and confusing you need a PhD in legal jargon just to understand what you're allowed to do on your own property. Then there's the property taxes. They're some of the highest in the nation, which means even if you could afford a piece of land in Jersey, you'd be paying through the nose just to hang on to it. And don't even get me started on the lack of affordable land. Most of New Jersey is either paved over, covered in shopping malls, or owned by developers who wouldn't know a homestead if it hit them in the face. So, unless you're planning on building your off-grid paradise on a floating barge in the middle of the Hudson River, you're pretty much out of luck. Chapter 5, Massachusetts, where off-grid living is taxed out of existence. Sliding in at number 2 is Massachusetts, the land of pilgrims, patriots, and ridiculously complicated off-grid living regulations. Now, I've got a lot of respect for Massachusetts. It's got history, it's got culture, it's got clam chowder. But when it comes to embracing self-sufficiency, Massachusetts is about as welcoming as a nor'easter in January. See, in Massachusetts, they love their rules and regulations. They're like the HOA of states, always watching, always waiting to slap you with a fine for violating some obscure bylaw. And when it comes to off-grid living, they've got more bylaws than you can shake a stick at. First off, let's talk about building codes. They're stricter than a Puritan schoolmarm. You want to build a tiny house? Good luck getting it past the building inspector. They'll hit you with so many requirements for insulation, ventilation, and fire safety, you'll think you're building a bunker, not a home. Then there's the issue of land costs. Massachusetts is a small state with a lot of people, which means land is at a premium. And when you factor in the property taxes, which are some of the highest in the nation, you're looking at a serious chunk of change just to have a place to call your own. And don't even get me started on the permitting process. You want to install a well, get ready to wade through a mountain of paperwork, want to put up some solar panels? Be prepared to wait months, if not years, for approval. It's like they're trying to make it as difficult as possible to disconnect from the grid. Chapter 6, Colorado, where the mountains are free, but the water isn't. And finally, the #1 state where off-grid living is being choked out like a weed in a concrete jungle is Colorado. Yeah, I know, it's a shocker. Colorado, with its majestic mountains, its pristine rivers, its wide open spaces, you'd think it'd be a haven for folks looking to live off the grid. But the reality is, Colorado's got a dirty little secret. They don't want you collecting rainwater. You heard me right. In a state that's constantly dealing with droughts and water shortages, they've made it practically illegal to collect the life-giving liquid that falls from the sky. They say it's about water rights, about making sure everyone gets their fair share. But it seems awfully suspicious to me. It's almost like they're trying to keep us dependent on the government for our most basic needs. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for conservation. But when you can't even collect the rainwater that falls on your own roof, something's seriously wrong. They've got these things called prior appropriation laws, which basically mean whoever started using the water first gets to keep using it, even if it means someone else goes thirsty. So, if you're thinking about going off-grid in Colorado, you better be prepared to fight for every drop of water. You'll need to dig a well, install a cistern, and pray to the rain gods that you don't get caught collecting their precious precipitation. Well, there you have it, folks. 6 states where the off-grid dream is quickly turning into a bureaucratic nightmare. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to live off the grid in these states, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It takes guts, determination, and a whole lot of legal loopholes. But hey, that's what we're here for, right? To share information, to expose the truth, and to help each other navigate the increasingly complex world we live in. So, if you're in one of these states and you're thinking about going off-grid, don't give up hope. Do your research, know your rights, and be prepared to fight for your freedom. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is to be self-sufficient, both in body and in mind. Thanks for tuning in to Preppers Community. If you found this information useful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share this with your fellow preppers and leave a comment below with your thoughts. See you in the next video.